special moment for us as well as the young lady because we'd like to help as much as possible students of any age who enjoy the history of not only the Post, but history in general. And in this case, when she first contacted us a year ago, I believe, she worked closely with our executive director, Kara Fossey, who's not able to be with us here today. And obviously, Devens has changed tremendously since 1996 when the Post was downsized. And it's so important, really, to keep alive the history of this place and actually its impact on the Neshoba Valley and the four towns who originally, in 1917, provided property for the Post to be built. So, having said that, we very much enjoy, again, I'm repeating myself, but we very much enjoy being able to assist young historians, old historians, in whichever endeavor they really would like to follow. So this has been a pleasure for us, to say the least. Because I understand that you've been awarded the ultimate accolade with the Girl Scouts, and you put together a very well-formed and informative, I should say, brochure, which we've been able to give to people who wish to do the driving tour of the old Post. So that is it's a great credit not only to you, but we very much enjoy your participation in wanting to keep the history alive. All right. Having said that, again, I'd like to just touch on the fact that our executive director, Kara Fossey, is always willing to assist those folks who would like to come, in fact, look at our archives, look at the museum, and possibly use information that we have for projects that they might be thinking about doing. All right. The tradition started 25 years ago at the museum on the third Saturday of the month, before we, in fact, introduce the presenter. We pledge allegiance to the flag. So if you would please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Ms. Alter, who will next year, I guess this fall, be a sophomore at Reed College in Oregon, you have the floor.
Okay. Hi, I'm Keziah Salter. Grew up in Ayer. I did my Gold Award here at Fort Devens about sort of the collective history of the base and sort of getting people in touch with that. I'm open to questions, I guess.
Could you describe the driving tour, Keziah, and what you what the
Maybe give us a
stops
little
are?
Yeah, okay.
outline
That's
of
a
the
good.
tour.
That's a good idea. So it's focusing on like sort of the remnants of military history in Devon. So there's a look at like the Red Cross building, which is now, I believe, a cafe and like wellness center. There's parts that's like, we talk about Vicksburg Square. There's Mirror Lake and sort of the rocket experiments that happened there. There's and so I guess the focus is more on the actual getting people to really look and focus at the actual physical remnants of Devens and how it's sort of still shaping our present time and space as we sort of move forward into that. And also just like people want to see like people who had families that were at Devens. It's really nice to be able to be like, this is where my grandfather, my great-grandfather, someone in my family that I want to connect with, that's where he lived, that's where he trained, that's where my grandmother kept house, like something like that. It's where someone trains to be a nurse or went to college. Yeah?
One of the questions that Vanessa got from her folks when she did her presentation is, what made you choose this project? How did you sort of stumble into it?
I wanted to do a project on history, and I knew Adam Carrier, who's a board board member.
Yes.
He's a board member, and so I brought it. I had mentioned it a couple times. He had mentioned that he knew Kara Fossey, who's the director, and he kind of put us in touch, and we talked about like what I wanted to do. I wanted to do research, presenting, education, that sort of stuff, and she wanted. We talked about a couple ideas. We settled on the driving tour because it's a good combination of research and present stuff that's very versatile for the museum to use in the future.
Was there anything that surprised you that you learned about Devens?
Didn't know. I felt like, looking back, it's been 2 years. I'm old. It's been
Lies.
a second.
I'm old.
I would say that what I was really surprised by was I never really comprehended how much of just flat out, how many people lived here. I didn't know there was prisoners of wars kept at Devens. And I really didn't expect, at one point I was like hunting down different addresses through Devens of like, here's where we think this is. No, actually it's not here, it's somewhere else. And that was very interesting because you would think Devens isn't that big. You would think that there's like here's where this thing is and here's where this thing is, but it's a little bit more complicated than that.
What was the biggest contrast between like when this was a military base, this location was X, but now you would never today believe that it's Y. Like
Yeah.
a wellness center, a Red Cross building becoming a wellness center seems like yeah, okay, that makes sense. But well, there had to be something that was like, really? Did I know what used to be here?
Yeah, out by like Mirror Lake, that's where like some of the first rockets of like, what's his name? Some WPI guy was building rockets and shooting them off up here, and I had no idea. And it's like all along that road to the highway that we're like on right now, rockets. Didn't expect that. I didn't believe it, but it was very interesting.
That was Dr. Godin.
Got it.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
was there.
How many people were here at the biggest population?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. A lot. Very many. I probably. Do you have a?
Yes, during the First World War, there was as many as 38,000 people.
Wow.
Oh.
Now, that's World War I, when this was Camp Devens. During the Second World War, this was both an induction and release from active service center, and also was a training school for the Army Women's Auxiliary Corps, MPs and cooks, interestingly enough. So we estimate that as many as 650,000 people passed through Fort Devens during the Second World War. This was the largest military installation in New England. And there still is Fort Devens, as everyone knows. And my understanding is it still remains the largest military installation in New England to this day. And from point of pride, from my point of view, is the Marine Corps now is the infantry element at Fort Devens, since I have in fact served with that honorable service.
Where's the driving tour start? Where do you have it started?
It technically, I believe it starts/ends here at the Fort Devens Museum, but it's not exactly something that has to be done in any specific order. Can be sort of bounced around. You can sort of have it, and as you're like driving to the grocery store, you're like, let's swing this way to try to take a shortcut to the Wendy's. I do that a lot. And you're like, oh, there's the cemetery. I've heard about the cemetery, but I don't know anything about it. And that's sort of what I like about the driving tour. So it's like all of the stuff that we pass by every day that we don't even really think about anymore. Because it's like our normal, but we haven't like thought about it, you know? Yeah.
So, do you need the brochure to take the tour, or is it like a website, or
There's-
is it QR codes?
There's a website that I recommend the brochure. I think it's pretty cool. Unbiased opinion, I think the brochure is pretty cool. So it seems like someone maybe spent a lot of time on it.
Spoken like a historian wanting the tangible paper.
I'm a big fan of physical media. There is the Fort Devens Museum does host a website, and it does have the driving tour on there. I believe that the brochures have a QR code if you want to just nab one and scan the back and then have it, or you can find it on the website. I'm sure that they have stuff with the website around here. But yeah, you can do it however you like, really. It's choose your own adventure.
Did you run across any good urban legends or ghost stories or fun, like everybody thinks this is the story, but it's actually this story, that sort of thing?
I felt like I encountered some ghosts when I was hanging around. Like, I went into I was checking out the Red Cross building. I was in the cemetery a couple of times very early in the morning to get some good light for photos. And I was like, I am going to get haunted. I'm going to get haunted, and I'm going to have not a Civil War, like a World War I ghost follow me home in my car. And I'm going to be like, don't worry, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm going to be really cool.
Just you look like his old girlfriend. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't really encounter anything. I got really freaked out by how deep Mirror Lake is. It's like 40 feet deep at its deepest, and I think that's too deep for a lake that I swim in. You know, that freaked me out. I read it and I was like, oh no, and I had to sort of sit down and be like, I guess I'm still gonna go there. But yeah. Devens isn't as scary as a lot of people think it is, even though people,
Talking about the paranormal.
Okay, here we go.
Now, the old headquarters building at Devens, one of the brick buildings, and the old MP office are haunted. And I have on not good authority, so I can't really reference this correctly, possibly. However, a visitor to the museum about a year ago, who lives in the area, one early morning while driving through Devens, came upon a column of First World War soldiers marching out of the mist.
Really?
Yes. So they probably did follow you home.
Very much to me.
You're close enough.
They can't cross large bodies of water, so when you go
Right.
back to Oregon, you'll be okay. But seriously, they've been in the two buildings.
Yeah.
There have been numerous incidents of, sightings or, noises, and no one's in the room.
Wow.
So there's some interesting activity goes on here.
Yeah.
You mentioned the graveyard where you were early in the morning. Fort Devens did not have a permanent cemetery until about 1935.
Yeah.
All right, there was an island, I think called Moon Island in Boston Harbor, where soldiers stationed in the harbor forts around Boston, going back really to the early 1800s. The decedents were buried there. They had no home to be returned to.
Sure.
And that island, under the New Deal, they did something with it during the Depression, that all of those graves were moved here to Devens.
Oh, wow.
So the oldest grave at Fort Devens dates to the War of 1812.
Wow.
So you probably woke them up.
Yeah, because some of the prisoners of war who died at Devens are buried in the
They're
Fort Devens
quiet.
Cemetery.
Yes.
And I was getting a lot of I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, I'm not involved. I'm also I also don't want to die here.
No, but that's on Patton Road, as the young lady suggested. It's an interesting place. It's easy to get to, and the gates are open. It's a semicircular drive that goes through it.
It's very peaceful, but don't
And it's
worry
very
about
peaceful.
ghosts.
And
Yeah.
Just don't go there in the half light.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
The right
High
frame of
noon.
mind, and nobody will follow you home.
Nobody will follow you home.
But that's one of, I think, as the young ladies pointed out, I think that's one of the key features of the old Camp Devens and Fort Devens, was the old cemetery.
Yeah.
And the German graves are not without controversy, but that's probably a lecture for a different time.
Yeah.
No, because there's a U-boat captain buried there.
Yeah.
And the circumstances of his death are still debated today. And there is a very slow growing movement now to repatriate the remains of the Germans to Germany.
Sure.
But I don't think the German government's too interested in that. So they'll probably remain here.
Yeah.
And of course, if you go by the old Cutler Family Hospital on
Mm.
Patton Road, that is Sal Cutler Prison.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
That's not on the
Agreed.
tour map.
Yeah.
Did your research, sorry,
Go
did
ahead,
your
no, no.
research, did you unearth like famous or notable people? Is that noted on your diagram or your map? Anybody who was, again, notable or famous who was here?
I should have reviewed more of my notes. I was way too confident walking in here. It's like, I did this project. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
I been rotting my brain doing other early modern Europe in my college classes. But part of the driving tour is talking about like Robert Goddard and rocket experiments he did up here. I mostly shied away from sort of being like, I talk a little bit about like regiments and some famous regiments that passed through here, but I shied away from being like, and this is where this specific guy was doing this specific thing, because I thought that it just wasn't what I wanted to take what I was doing. I wanted it to be a little bit more general and sort of more painting the broader strokes of history, because even though like meeting one person can be really good for like connecting with the humanity of people in the past, I wanted it to be more looking at the cause and effect in the building of history in Devens.
Makes sense. Okay.
And when you,
Just to that point, famous people who trained here. Some of us are old enough to remember Senator Saltonstall from Massachusetts. He served with the 76th Division in World War I and trained here at Devens. In 1961, a young Army lieutenant who had gone at that time to the college, City College of New York, he accepted a regular commission in the Army and was assigned here to Fort Devens after he'd done his basic infantry training. That was Colin Powell.
Yeah, I know you came here.
So those are two significant figures, I feel, anyway. And I'm sure, if you were to delve into the numbers of people who served here, you'd find considerably more.
yeah. Because you did some presentations in middle school, right?
Oh yeah, that was part of my goal board as well. I spent a day working with Dr. Padkey of Shirley Regional Middle School fame. And I mostly presented to 7th graders. He's a class of 8th graders. I gave sort of a condensed vision of the driving tour, and then we talked about research skills, and I had them, my thing was like, I wanted them to all find one fact about Devens that I hadn't mentioned, and if they had to verify it, they had to have a source that wasn't Wikipedia. And they had to tell me if it was a reliable source, and then if they found something and it was a reliable source, which they all did eventually, they got Jolly Ranchers. So one thing I've learned in my years of experience, because I am very old, is that children love being motivated by candy.
Did you find that information about Devens was familiar to them, or was it new to them?
They had a lot of like, oh, this is like, I pass by that, I drive by here, I sort of know about that. And not a lot of middle schoolers are like into like, I'm gonna read about the history of my local area, because that's just not what the school's teaching them, and not a lot of them are like history buffs, but they were interested in it, and they were excited to learn more about it, and I was happy to know that, and I thought it was really cool.
How long did it take you to do this project?
I started it like August, going into my senior year of high school, and I finished it at about that time the next year. So it took me about a year. I successfully submitted it in late August. It was approved a couple of days into my first year of college. So I was on a tight schedule. I had to lock in.
Yeah.
Gold Awards, Eagle Projects, it's always down to the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two flavors. There's the doing it well in advance, no stress, and then there's the coming down of the wire.
Right.
There's nothing
Yeah.
in between.
There was
Yes.
there was like about a month in the middle of the summer where I didn't really have anything to do. It was just like bam, 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 bam. I gotta get this done.
Like days before
Deposit. I had a lot of things going on in the spring.
Of course you did. Yep.
Is there anything that'll stay with you?
I feel like I learned a lot of soft skills. I personally, I don't really think of myself as someone who's naturally a very good presenter. I knew I knew how to research. I knew how to make like the stuff I wanted to make, but like reaching out to people, getting to know people. I had to talk to a lot of people. I had to like gather up all of my social courage so I could walk around Fort Devens taking photos of things. Like that was a lot. I think it's a good, like that was a good skill to walk away of just being like, just do it. That was good, I think. I feel like I got a lot of history perspective of just how much there is in any one given area. Even one that isn't as historically rich as Devens can be very interesting stuff.
It's true.
Yeah.
Is there any information or advice for future Gold Award candidates?
Do not forget about it. There was like a month in the middle of my project where I was like not, I had other things to worry about, but I was like totally threw my timeline off, and it was like I felt very bad about how I was doing after that. So just like it's much better to just work at it slowly instead of doing it in these big bursts that I did it. Don't do that. Life skill, life advice, don't do that.
Okay, I just, again, I'd like
Yeah.
to thank the young lady for
Thank you,
her
yeah.
keen observations. You say you're old, not as old as I am. You are the future for the history of not only this post, but for those of us who like history. I have a degree in history, and this time that I spend at the museum as a volunteer, it's the only opportunity I've had to use it. So I'm
Don't say
delighted
that
to
to
see
me.
that somebody really wants to come in
I'm a history major,
and
don't say that.
Yeah.
continue the importance of what this post and what this fort were and actually still are.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, yay, thank you all
There
for
comes a driving
coming.
tour.
Hey, they were.